kids, welcome back to my channel. My name's Lizzie. Are you ready for another lesson? Today we are learning about weather. And it's a long book, but it's got a lot of good stuff in it. So if you need a drink, if you need to go potty, if you need a blanket or a snack, hit the pause button because this one is a long one, but you will learn a lot. Let's talk about weather. It's very important to know about weather no matter where you live. Let's talk about the hot stuff. Where weather starts. All weather starts with the sun. Vast amounts of energy steam out from the sun in all directions, all the time. A tiny bit of this energy smacks right into our planet. When it does, it travels through the atmosphere down to Earth's surface, where it heats up land and water. Then it is released again, warming the air. Here's the thing. The heat release is not evenly distributed. Some areas are warmer than others, depending on how much sunlight they have absorbed. Earth ends up being a kind of polka-dotted, with warmer and cooler spots. And this is where all the trouble begins. Nature always wants to be in balance. Earth's warm and cool spots are constantly trying to even themselves out, which causes all kinds of mayhem in our atmosphere. We call that mayhem weather. Warmer and cooler spots around Earth's surface try to even out, causing weather. See that? That's what weather looks like on a map. And here's the sun, and here's Earth. How long do you think it takes the sunlight to get from the sun to Earth? I'll give you a guess. It's under 10. Did you know sunlight takes about 8 minutes to reach Earth? Only 8 minutes for that. I mean, it doesn't look very far in the picture, but in space it's very, very far. Let's talk about some hot places. Most places on Earth get intermittent sunlight. Some days are bright and sunny, while others are rainy or cloudy. These shifting conditions help to regulate the heat. In a few places, however, sunlight beats down relentlessly day after day, and the heat builds up to unimaginable levels. In Azira, Libya, holds the world record for the hottest temperature ever measured on Earth at a whopping 136 degrees Fahrenheit. That's pretty hot. Definitely gonna need a fan and some water and some air conditioning. Temperatures in California's Death Valley are not far behind, regularly exceeding 130 degrees Fahrenheit. Yikes. But even these extreme temperatures do not tell the whole story. Satellite measurements in recent years suggest that the Lut Desert in Iran blows the record holders away with surface temperatures of 159.3 degrees Fahrenheit. Holy shizzle! That's some seriously hot stuff. Okay, so this is Death Valley, and then this is Iran's Lut Desert, the hot one. Don't say the word chisel, you'll get in trouble. Let's talk about wind. Wind is moving air. It is created when air rushes from areas of high pressure, which is cold spots, to areas of low pressure, which is warm spots, as Earth's atmosphere tries to even itself out. Wind can range from a gentle breeze to a blistering blast, and it causes all kinds of weather features. Check out these wild and windy phenomena. Did you know? Built around the 2nd century BCE in Athens, Greece, the world's first weather station was the Tower of the Winds, named for the 8 ancient Greek wind gods displayed on its sides. We've had weather stations for a long time. Let's talk about dust devils, which is these little guys right here. Looks pretty harmless, right? I don't think it is. Dust devils are whirlwinds of hot air and debris sucked up from the ground. They form when the ground heats up very quickly. When the ground releases the heat, it rises quickly and may begin to rotate. Dust devils are usually small, weak, and short-lived, lasting just a few minutes. Occasionally, they can get stronger. A dust devil that struck Arizona in 2000 had wind speeds of 75 miles per hour. Ooh, that's pretty fast. It damaged many structures but caused no human injuries or deaths. Well, thank God for that. Let's talk about dust storms, which are these guys right here. Looks crazy, right? I would run. Dust storms. When strong winds strike dusty or sandy areas, dust storms may form. Dust storms go by many local names, including sandstorms, haboobs, and simoons. I would call it haboobs because that's a pretty funny word. They are fearsome sights to behold. The approaching wall of a dust storm may be nearly 2 miles tall and up to 60 miles wide, and it can move at speeds up to 60 miles per hour. Holy crow, that's very fast and very scary. Did you know? Caught on video in Fairfield, California, a man twirled inside a powerful dust devil that caused damage at a skate park. So there was a man that got cut up in one of these before. That had to have been scary. I wonder if it felt like a ride. I wonder if he threw up after from spinning. I would. Let's talk about wind patterns. In addition to local winds, Earth has large-scale wind patterns that stay the same all the time. These patterns have two main causes. One is the uneven heating of the planet. The other is the fact that our planet spins or rotates on a central axis. Between the spinning and the heating, our air gets stirred up in predictable ways. Large-scale wind patterns include trade winds, which blow inward toward the equator, westerlies, which blow toward the poles, and polar easterlies, which blow out from the poles. Did you know wind blows on other planets, not just Earth? Neptune is the solar system's breeziest planet, with wind speeds up to 1.300. Why do I keep saying thousand? Maybe it's true. I don't know. Miles per hour. So 1,300 miles per hour. That's still fast. Faster than any car we have. Whew. I would like to go to Neptune one day. I don't know. It'd be pretty scary though. Windy champ. Antarctica is the windiest place on Earth. Its winds blow hard all the time. This happens because Antarctica is basically dome-shaped, higher in the middle and lower on the edges. Freezing cold air builds up in the center of the continent and flows outward and downward in all directions. The result is a frigid and never-ending blast of air. It's like a permanent blizzard. Sounds like a fun place to visit. No, count me out. That's Antarctica, and it's blowing. Clouds building up over Antarctica are a sign of rising winds. So if you see clouds in Antarctica, that's not a good thing. Run for the hills. Well, there's no place to hide because it seems like it comes from everywhere. Let's talk about clouds. Sometimes air rising from Earth's surface carries invisible moisture called water vapor upward. When the water vapor cools, it turns into tiny water droplets or ice particles. If enough of these particles gather in one place, they form a cloud. Clouds often look like solid cotton balls, but they aren't solid at all. There is lots of space between a cloud's particles. Sunlight can't pass straight through a cloud, though, because the path between all those little bits is too twisty. So a cloud blocks the sun and looks like a solid mass. Clouds can be small and wispy, huge and dense, and many shapes and sizes in between. Some clouds just float around and look fluffy and pretty, while others are threatening and bring rain, snow, and storms. Did you know that the word cloud comes from clod, meaning a lump of dirt or soil? Long ago, people thought clouds looked like rocks in the sky. Makes sense. Did you know fog and mist are really just clouds sitting on Earth's surface? On a foggy day, you're walking through a cloud. I love foggy days, but not when I'm driving. Did you know on average about 70% of our planet is covered by clouds at any one time? It's a lot of clouds. Let's talk about the type of clouds. And in this book you might see it, but I had to write how the kids were going to pronounce it because these words are difficult. So we have cirrus clouds, which are these wispy little fluff clouds. Then we have the cirrocumulus, which is a little bit more scattered, but still wispy. Then we have the cirrostratus, which is long, wispy, almost looks like water in the sky. Can you see it? I see those a lot sometimes. Then we have autocumulus clouds, big, fluffy, scattered. They look like angel wings. Altostratus clouds, very pretty at sunset. Those are the ones that change color. Stratocumulus clouds, sorry, very puffy like cotton balls. Then we have stratus clouds, long, kind of like this, but more closer together. And then my favorite clouds, because those are the ones where you can see shapes and they look like things. Cumulus clouds, big, puffy, and beautiful. I love them. And then the most challenging one to say is the cumulonimbus clouds. Very giant. So let's talk about the types of clouds and where they sit. So you have high level clouds, which is up here, up high in the sky. Those are the cirrus, long wispy streamers, which are these ones. And the cirrostratus, thin translucent lucent sheets, which is this one. And then we have the cirrocumulus, small rounded puffs, which is this one. So these three are all the top clouds up in the highest part. Let's talk about the mid-level clouds. The altostratus, moderate mid-level sheets, which is the angel wings one. Then we have the altocumulus, grayish-white, medium-sized puffs. So that's these two, the pretty ones at sunset. These two make up the middle. Let's talk about the low-level clouds. We have the stratus, which is here. And then the cumulus, my favorite. And then the stratocumulus, which is this. This is probably why we see these three most often. But let's talk about the special, most difficult one to say, which is the cumulonimbus, are an exception to the altitude rule. These towering beasts start low and rise to the highest level of the atmosphere. So they start here at the bottom level and they go all the way to the top. Unlike all the other clouds that stay in the top, middle, or lower, not that one, it goes to all of them. Pretty cool, right? Let's talk about rain. What's that wet stuff falling from the sky? It's rain. Rain is a type of precipitation. It forms when water vapor condenses into the liquid droplets that are heavy enough to tumble to the ground. Raindrops can be tiny or huge. They can drift downward gently or plunge with painful force. Let's splash into some wet weather. What is a raindrop? Raindrops start out as dust or smoke particles floating in the air. The particles give teeny tiny bits of moisture a place to cling. More and more moisture joins the growing drop to form a perfectly round globe of water. So it's all this atmosphere, all this wet, stagnant stuff, and they form those little tiny, perfect little drops. When the globe starts to fall, air pressure changes its shape. Big raindrops are shaped like parachutes or tiny hamburger buns, not teardrops. So the bigger they are, they change in shape, which makes sense. Moisture rises from oceans and lakes, turning into precipitation, and falls back to Earth in a process called the water cycle. Okay, so it goes from here, all into the ocean, back into the air, the sun transforms it, and then it comes right back down to Earth. So it's all one big giant cycle. Let's talk about the rainiest places. The Meghalaya state in India is the rain champion of the world. Part of the Himalaya mountains range trap rain clouds in this area. The stuck clouds continuously dump their moisture on the land below. The region's wettest spot can average of 467.36 inches of rain per year. Yikes, that's a lot of rain. Residents don't bother waiting for nice weather to go outdoors. They know it's hopeless. They just make sure to take umbrellas everywhere they go. Yuck, I wouldn't want to be in rain all the time, but I'm sure you get used to it. Let's talk about the rainforests. As their name suggests, rainforests are forests that get a high amount of rainfall, anywhere between 98 and 177 inches. Tropical rainforests are found near the equator, and they are hot and humid. Temperate rainforests are found further north and south and have cooler climates. They're going to get rained on in both types of rainforests. These places are wet, and vital. And they're destroying our rainforests. So Google that and learn about it, because maybe when you get my age, they might not be there anymore. We have to save them. All right, did you know a rainbow happens when rain is falling in the sky and the sun is shining nearby? The light from the sun bounces off the rain droplets, causing the colors of the rainbow to show up in the sky. So it's just rain with the sun going through it. That's what makes a beautiful rainbow. That's pretty cool, right? Let's talk about droughts. Sometimes an area gets lower than normal rainfall in a year. This situation is called a drought, and it's an environmental emergency. Droughts affect the local water supply, crop growth, and the health of people and animals. Dried out vegetation can lead to wildfires and forest fires, and parched soil can crack or turn into blowing dust. It's time to break out the rain dance when a drought arrives. Yeah, droughts aren't good. You hear about it all the time in California. It's probably why they have so many fires. In Australia, they get droughts too. You can get a drought anywhere, really. Let's talk about thunderstorms. Superstorms. Under certain conditions, weather events called thunderstorms can develop. Yeah, thunderstorms are born in, oh my God. I need to look at it too. The cumulonimbus clouds. They are usually accompanied by strong winds, and they often produce heavy rain. For a thunderstorm to form, a great deal of warm, moist air must rise quickly into the sky and condense into water. This water plummets to the ground in great sheets, pulling cold air along with it in a blast called a downshaft. A thunderstorm lasts as long as it's being fed by warm air, which is usually not more than 20 to 30 minutes. Sometimes, though, conditions feed a thunderstorm for much longer. Thunderstorms can be individual, meaning they come from one isolated cumulonimbus cloud, or they can occur in groups. The most powerful and destructive thunderstorms are called supercells. We hear that a lot in the summer around here. Look at that nasty thunderstorm coming. Ooh, Lord. Thunder and lightning. By definition, all thunderstorms include thunder and lightning. Lightning is an electrical current through a cloud. It is created when particles inside the cloud bump and jostle each other. Some of the particles lose electrons during this process and become positively charged. Others gain electrons and become negatively charged. When the imbalance gets great enough, a pathway opens between the negative and the positive areas, and zap! A bolt of lightning appears. Soon after you see this mighty flash, you will hear a crack or a rumble of thunder. Thunder occurs because lightning superheats the air it travels through. The hot air expands quickly, creating a shock wave that travels outward. When this shock wave hits our eardrums, we hear the kaboom of thunder. Did you know lightning heats the air it passes through to 50,000 degrees Fahrenheit? That's hot. more than 5 times the surface temperature of the sun. Lightning is some serious power. I used to be scared of thunderstorms when I was a kid, and my grandpa told me that it was just God, all the gods up there bowling. And when the lightning came, they got a strike. And the thunder was just the ball rolling down the lane. Think about that if you're scared of storms. It helps you feel better. Let's talk about floods. Thunderstorms and other severe weather can lead to floods. Floods are defined as events where water overflows and submerges land that is usually dry. There are many different types of floods. Most of them are damaging, but some are helpful to their communities and environments. Let's talk about flash floods. We hear this all the time where I live in the summer. A flash flood forms when a heavy rainstorm soaks a dry, hilly area. The hard ground cannot absorb all the rain, so water starts flowing downhill from the rain source. As it travels, it may be funneled into a smaller and smaller area by gullies and stream beds. The wall of the water gets higher and faster and can burst into an area with shocking speed and force. Yeah, that happens a lot, unfortunately. Hennico City Hall is partly submerged due to the 1931 flood. Look at that. That's a flash flood where it comes really fast. The whole bottom level of the building covered. Look at how scary it looks. It's mean and muddy and you can't see in it and it's gross and you don't want to be stuck in it. It's very dangerous. A lot of people die in flash floods. Urban floods. Urban floods can be a big problem in cities. They occur when rainfall overwhelms a city's sewage system and causes it to overflow. Ooh, stinky. Streets and buildings fill up with not so clean sewage water. Yuck. Yeah, yuck is right. It's going to smell like poop. Urban flooding is a particularly pressure issue in India, where other countries have had monsoon seasons with lots of rain and dumping down every day. Ugh, gross. Sugarcane crops nestle along palm trees along the shore of the Nile River in Egypt. Did you know, due to the constant flooding in Venice, Italy, the bookstore of high water keeps their titles in bathtubs and boats? Interesting. Seasonal floods. Okay, that's what they're talking about. The Nile is a seasonal flood. Seasonal floods are the good kind, or at least they can be good. Seasonal floods occur as a predictable, normal result of an area's weather patterns. People are prepared for them and can take advantage of them. In Egypt, for example, seasonal rains cause the Nile River to overflow its banks at certain times of the year. The water integrates fields and helps crops grow. So sugarcane grows by the Nile. This has been happening for centuries upon centuries upon centuries. You can set your watch to the Nile floods. Let's talk about snow. And I'm from upstate New York. We get snow most of the year. Snow is a type of precipitation made of frozen ice crystals. You know that fluffy white stuff that is so much fun to make into snowballs and snowmen and sled and ski and snowboard on? Snow forms inside of clouds when temperatures are well below the freezing point and there's plenty of moisture in the air. The moisture freezes into microscopic crystals that build up on solid particles floating around. When a clump gets big and heavy enough, it drifts to the ground as snow. Snowfall can take any forms, from light flurries to whipping storms. The prettiest snowfalls have little to no wind but dump lots of big fat snowflakes. We get that a lot. The falling snow blocks sound waves, making the whole world quiet except for a faint sizzle made when the tiny ice chunks hit the ground. Earth's snowiest areas include the polar regions of the upper half of the northern hemisphere and mountainous region worldwide. I'm in the snow capital of the world, apart from Alaska and Canada. Did you know the largest snowflake ever measured fell in Montana in 1887. It measured 15 inches across. Oh my god, that's a pretty big snowflake. Let's talk about snowflakes. Snowflakes are like human fingerprints. No two are alike. The classic snowflake has a central six-sided plate with a fluffy branch growing from each corner. But there are many other snowflake shapes, including needles and columns. Snowflakes vary in shape because of the way they form. As a snowflake grows, it moves through the area of different humidity and temperature. These fasciculations, can't say that word, change the way new ice crystals join to the existing mass. As a result, each snowflake ends up with a unique appearance. A typical snowflake has 10 quintillion water molecules. Oh my Lanta. That's a 10 followed by 18 zeros. It's really, really unlikely that so many particles would ever arrange themselves into an exact same shape. Reading a lot, my tongue's getting heavy. This is what my home state looks like most of the year. It's ending soon for us. Hopefully we get snow all the way into Mother's Day most of the time. Let's talk about falling ice. Snow is not the only type of frozen water that falls from the sky. There's plenty of other icy stuff falling on our heads, especially during cold times of the year. But sometimes during warmer weather too. Let's check them out. Did you know the Washington state home of billionaire Microsoft founder Bill Gates has heated driveways to prevent ice from building up? I wish I had one because I hate shoveling. Let's talk about hail. Hail consists of falling ice balls, and it hurts when it hits you. And it forms inside thunderstorms when air currents carry blobs of ice up and down, up and down. At first the blobs are tiny, but then they grow with each up and down trip. They plummet from the cloud when they get too big to stay afloat. Most hailstorms are small, but if a storm is really powerful and windy, it can spawn hailstones the size of golf balls, which I've been in before, and I had bruises on my face because they hit you so hard, and it's like boing, ow, 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 and you run into a building. It is even possible for baseball-sized hailstones to form. This is really unusual, but it has happened, and it is super dangerous. Watch your head. Yeah, it dents your car. It can knock you out cold. Like you could just be walking and get hit. A big enough one could hit you in the head, and you take a nap on the street. Let's talk about sleet. Sleet is like a cross between snow and rain. We get this all the time, especially in March. It occurs when the temperature near the ground is just a little bit above freezing temperature. In the clouds up above, the precipitation is frozen solid, but it starts to melt on its way to the ground. The result is a wet, soft mess that builds up in piles of goop on the ground, and it's really icy and you fall all the time. Soon it will either melt to water or freeze solid, depending on whether the temperature rises or falls. So this is what we have during the day, and when we're sleeping at night, it turns to ice. So when you go out to your car the next day, you're ice skating on your sneakers. Let's talk about freezing rain. That's what it looks like. We've had this a few times that knocks out your power. Texas is having this, or had it recently. Anyone who lives in a cold climate will tell you that freezing rain is the worst. It is, because you lose power and you can't drive anywhere. You can't even walk outside because it's slippery. The worst. Freezing rain occurs when rain gets super cooled on its way to the ground, but remains in liquid form. The raindrops freeze instantly when they strike below, freezing temperature objects. The whole world quickly becomes coated with a layer of solid, slippery ice that can grow inches tall within hours. These ice storms, as they are called, are notorious for damaging property and knocking out electrical power to huge areas. Yeah, they damage your roof too. Did you know a popular Swedish hotel, including most of its furniture and many other objects used inside, is rebuilt every year using snow and ice from a nearby river? It's called the Ice Motel. I would love to go there, but I don't like being cold, so I don't think I would like it very much. If you sit in an ice chair, is your butt going to be cold? I'm out. I don't want to. Freezing rain has coated these berries in a layer of ice. Look at them. It gets crazy. Let's talk about ice management. Coping with ice is a big job in areas with severe winter weather, which is where I live. Vehicles called snowplows may be used to shove snow off roadways. They also run over your car, and then they don't pay for it. You'll find that out when you get big. De-icing trucks may spray salt or other ice-melting chemicals into frozen areas. We provide a lot of salt. We are called Salt City. Syracuse is Salt City. We send our salt to everybody who gets snow like we do. And you put it on the roads because the salt keeps the ice from forming. On a smaller level, people may use shovels or personal snowblowers to clear their property until the next icy event arrives, that is. Yes, all of us out here shovel, and we have snowblowers, and we gotta, every single day in the winter, do it, or it's gonna build up to like your hip size and you can't walk through it. Let's talk about snowstorms and blizzards. You hear these words a lot if you live in a snowy place. Sometimes large amounts of snow fall from cloud systems. If conditions are fairly calm during the snowfall, these events are known as snowstorms. Snowstorms can quietly dump several inches of snow over a large area, disrupting traffic and people's everyday activities. Mostly while we're sleeping. If a snowstorm is very windy, it is called a blizzard instead. Blizzards have winds of at least 35 miles per hour, and they last 3 hours or more. These systems can be enormous, stretching 1,000 miles across. A blizzard's blowing or drifting snow reduces visibility, making it impossible to see more than 1/4 a mile in any direction. Yeah, driving is dangerous. Walking, you can get stuck outside and not know where you are in a blizzard. I call it a whiteout. Sometimes this causes a dangerous situation called a whiteout, which makes the whole world look the same shade of white. People have to stop driving or even walking because they can't see the road, the horizon, or anything else at all. Just white. This happens a lot. A lot of people, unfortunately, die getting stuck in whiteouts. Did you know the earliest known snow shovel was found in a bog in Russia and is thought to be around 6,000 years old? Wow, you had to do something with the snow. Storm damage caused by a winter nor'easter in Massachusetts. It's crazy. After a blizzard, the roof and cars are covered with deep white snow. That's what my house would look like after a blizzard here. It's crazy. After a blizzard, these cars aren't going anywhere until they get uncovered and the roads are cleared. Yep. Let's talk about extreme winter storms. Although thankfully rare, extreme winter storms do batter us from time to time. Here are 3 of the worst offenders. Bomb cyclone, the worst. This type of storm occurs when a cold air mass collides with a warm air mass. This causes the air pressure to plummet. Air rushes inward, creating intense winds and a sudden strong snow-tossing storm that stings your face when the snow hits you. Polar vortex, no bueno. The polar vortex is a mass of frigid air that usually swings around the North Pole. If atmospheric conditions shift, the vortex can temporarily move south, bringing sub-zero temperatures for days on end. That's what happened to Texas. Then we have a nor'easter, which we call lake effect snow around here. A nor'easter is a winter cyclone cyclone that forms over the Atlantic Ocean. As the name suggests, a nor'easter mostly affect the northeastern United States, which is us, where I live. They're a lot like bomb cyclones, except particular to one geographic area, which is New York, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Maryland. We all get hit with those. Ooh, let's talk about frightening funnel tornadoes. I loved learning about tornadoes when I was a kid, but they are scary. I was in Joplin right after their giant tornado and I saw the damage and it was very sad. Tornadoes are crazy. Tornadoes are among the most terrifying weather events on Earth. I would say so. These twirling funnels of air rampage across the land, sucking up dirt and debris from the ground and destroying everything they touch. The average tornado has winds of about 110 miles per hour or less. It's about 250 feet across and travels about 1 mile before breaking up. And it destroys everything in that mile. However, some monster tornadoes can be much bigger and stronger. The most powerful tornadoes can be an entire mile across, with wind speeds reaching up to 300 miles per hour. It's an F5. Many people who live in tornado-prone areas have underground shelters near their homes that they can hide in when one of these massive beasts approaches. The sheltered people will survive the encounter. Their homes, cars, crops, and livestock, unfortunately, may not be so lucky. Did you know the Reno Tornado in Oklahoma reached a record 2.6 miles wide, the equivalent of more than 45 football fields? Scary. Did you know sometimes waterspouts suck fish from the water and blow them far away? They plop down to 100 miles away in a smelly rain of fish. Ew, that's a waterspout. That's a tornado on water. I saw one in Florida. Waterspouts. A waterspout is a spinning funnel of air that forms over seas or lakes. Instead of sucking up dirt and debris, the swirling wind sucks up a fine spray of water instead to form a column of liquid. There are two types of waterspouts. Fair weather waterspouts form along the base of a line of developing cumulus clouds. They are narrow, weak, and stay in one place and break up quickly. No problem. The other type of waterspout, the tornadic waterspout, is a much bigger problem. It is a tornado and is associated with high wind speeds, hail, thunder, lightning, and all the other calling cards of a major storm. Sailors and boaters would be wise to stay far, far away from these dangerous phenomena. Yeah, better hit the gas on that boat. Let's talk about hurricanes, which are also very scary. Hurricanes are the biggest and baddest storms on the planet, also called tropical cyclones or typhoons. These whirling monsters can be hundreds of miles across and can last nearly a month before petering out. Many hurricanes stay far out at sea, but some hit land, and when they do, they can cause unimaginable devastation. How hurricanes form. Hurricanes can form over oceans when the water is 80 degrees Fahrenheit or warmer. The air above the water heats up and becomes moist and cloudy. If conditions are right, the mass of air can start to spin slowly like a huge pinwheel. The pinwheel may pick up speed and become a self-sustaining system, sucking in more moisture from all around and getting bigger and more powerful. The system will move from being a rainy but weak tropical depression to a stronger tropical storm and may finally reach ultra windy hurricane status. Let's talk about the wind speeds. Hurricanes are categorized according to their wind speeds. The scale goes from 1 to 5, with 1 being the weakest and 5 being the strongest, which is also true for tornadoes. To be considered a hurricane, a storm must have sustained winds of at least 75 miles per hour. Hurricanes of Category 3 or above are considered major storms with the potential of significant damage and loss of life. Yikes. So let's talk about the storm surge, Along the coast, storm surge is often the greatest threat to life and property from a hurricane. Storm surge is a dramatic rise in sea levels caused by winds shoving a bulge of water towards shore in advance of the hurricane's center. Hurricane Katrina, which hit the New Orleans area in 2005, generated a storm surge of 28 feet that flooded vast areas of low-lying land. Let's talk about how they monitor a hurricane. Before modern technology existed, hurricanes arrived without warning and killed thousands of people. Today, we can keep careful watch to spot hurricanes forming and track their progress. Monitoring tools include satellites, airplanes, drones, ships, buoys, and radar. Using these tools, scientists can pinpoint a hurricane's location, wind speeds, and forward motion. Computers can analyze this data and more to predict a hurricane's likely path. People can use this information to prepare their homes or evacuate if necessary. Let's talk about all these pictures. Did you know the center of a hurricane is called the eye, which is also true for a tornado? Winds swirl around the eye, but inside the eye, the air is calm and still. With raging seas and a dark sky, a hurricane is about to batter this Caribbean beach. That's what it looks like right before it comes. Very, very windy. Hurricanes can be strong enough to toss houses and trucks like toys. Look at that. Just flattened that house, bent it, and everything. Hurricane Michael ripped the roofs and walls off these Florida homes. Look at it. You can take your roof right off. That's scary. A hurricane storm surge strikes the Massachusetts coast. Look at that. Water right into the building. That's scary. The storm surge barrier is raised and lowered when needed to protect coastal areas. So they have things that they put down to try to block the water from going to the land. Most of the time it goes right over top. Many boats washed ashore in Florida Keys during Hurricane Irma. Look at all those boats from in the ocean. They were pushed to the shore. Hurricanes are no joke. It's very scary. Let's talk about and end with other weather wonders. Wherever you go and whatever you're doing, weather is happening. Keep your eyes open. Here are a couple more amazing weather-related phenomena you might spot on a trip around the globe. Let's talk about the asperatus clouds. Asperatus clouds are rare formations with spectacular wavy undersides that many say resemble a rough ocean. They are a type of stratus or layer cloud that can occur at low or medium altitudes. Their waviness comes from air currents being channeled along the cloud base by various factors, including gravity, thunderstorms, jet streams, and the way air passes over mountains. Isn't that pretty? It's like somebody painted the sky. Let's talk about double rainbows, which is very rare. I've actually seen one. If one rainbow is pretty, well, two are even better. Double rainbows form when light reflects in two different directions inside raindrops. Most of the light bounces out into a typical rainbow. The rest of the light bounces out into a fainter rainbow that is exactly reversed in color from the original. So it's like, if it's red, orange, yellow, blue, indigo, the other, you got to do it backwards for the top one. It's going to be the other way. Pretty cool, right? The rest of I read that. Technically speaking, all rainbows have a double, but only under the perfect conditions is the double strong enough to see. So you're very lucky if you ever see a double rainbow. I've only seen one once, but they are out there. I hope you learned a lot about weather. There's weather wherever you live. Are you in a snowy climate? Are you in a hot climate? Whatever you needed to know about your living space, you learned. But you also learned about weather in other parts of the world. And it may just save your life one day. I hope you liked it. I'll see you all next time. Be good out there, kids.